Georgia, Georgia.
And there we are. Hello, shooters, loaders, and casters. Welcome to Georgia Shooting Connection Friday night live stream. Uh, I'm not doing well tonight, so we're going to let these guys uh, do most of the talking tonight. So, Gene, what you been doing this week?
Oh, what I've been doing this week? I've been making a lot of videos, been banging around the house, casting a lot of bullets since the weather's getting cool. Uh, open things up and go outside and did a bunch of smelting. Um, man, that's about it. Haven't been to work in a little bit because we're short of rain brass coming in. I still stop over at the shop though and say hey do and just let them know I'm still here. Been doing some home work at home too, and just do my best to get by. And I dropped a new episode of the Safe Queens today,
Saw it.
and next week I'll do the shooting video on that piece Wednesday. But next Friday, everybody be sure to watch because I've got something really special to show. Really
Cool.
neat. Other than that, I'm doing great. Walter, how are you?
I'm doing well here on this end, holding down the left side of the country as best I can. You know, we got things happening politically here in California with SCOTUS and whatnot, and we're eyeballing the AR-15 thing, the assault weapons ban maybe getting lifted here. So we'll see how that plays out. It's got a history of looking good and then turning to bad smells. We'll see. But I got to the range yesterday, and I got that new 10 millimeter Kimber fired up, and had come back from the factory, fixed up. They did a couple things more than I had asked them to do, which was to put the sight back on correctly this time. So we got that done. I got some casting done this week. I had a video that came out this morning, and I did some more casting today and some loading, and I spent the day in the garage. I didn't even get out for the morning walk. I was a lame duck this morning and just spent it all on casting and reloading, which is fine. That's good mental health for me. So that's what I'm up to. How about this young man sitting right down there underneath me? How you doing, CW?
Doing pretty good. I had a rainy day here today. I wanted to get out to the range with my new toy, but it didn't happen. So I did a little bit of casting. I got a mold in, and then I did a little bit of reloading and straightened up the loading room. And then I was down in the fishing room straightening that stuff up because that season's coming to an end. So I'm cleaning some of that stuff up. And I did a couple of videos. I got a video coming tomorrow, and I got another video probably on Sunday. So I got another couple of videos in the queue. I got a couple more I want to do. I'm hoping to get into the range tomorrow, but my buddy hasn't gotten back to me. Now I can certainly go on my own, but he was itching to go. We're supposed to have a firearm swap meet, gun stuff. Swap meet. I shouldn't say firearms. It's gun stuff. And all that rain has canceled it until Sunday, and he's not available on Sunday. So, but he had set to go down, so I'm hoping to get a hold of him, and maybe we can still get together, but he hasn't answered me back. So that probably won't happen now. But I want to shoot that 454, so that
Heck yeah.
probably going to happen. Scope base, one of the scope bases came in, and I was able to mount up a a red dot, so I would have been restricted to 25 yards because I can't see the sights good enough for farther. But now with the red dot, I can do 50 and 100, so I can be over on the rifle range. So we'll talk more about that as we go along because that's part of our topic tonight. So Mark, how was your week? And we missed you last week. I know you had some internet troubles, and sorry to hear about that. But you were missed here. So was Gene, for that matter. We missed Gene too.
Yeah, I was really bumming. We had our cable out, and that's what we get our internet through. Took a few days to get that straightened out, and I didn't even get to go back and watch for a few days because I was trying not to use my phone and go over the data limit. But it's been a good enough week. I did some casting back on Sunday. I cast a mold from UCW at 32 special, and I cast a mold from you, Walter, that one for 45 auto, and just had a wonderful afternoon. The old Seiko pot was running great, was making really beautiful bullets, so it was a good start to the week. And I actually have to go back in tomorrow for a little bit. We have a little like an open house day, but I'm looking forward to just hanging out this evening and being here with my friends. I'm watching the side chat. It's rolling along like crazy. So just thank you for having me. Wonderful to be here. Looking forward to a great evening.
Cool.
Very good, very good. We got this thing going on, and there's some stuff. Gene, I'll talk to you about this also, but as far as getting together in April, this is going to work out so good, it's unbelievable. So what's going on? And I guess I'm off that second week of April, and turns out Kyle's wedding day is the 13th, that Saturday of that week. So I'm thinking we go kidnap Kyle and take him up in the mountains somewhere and have a humdinger of a bachelor party, and then drag him back down to Cartersville about 2 minutes before time for the wedding to start.
That sounds good, but are we going to make him squeal like a pig?
No. That's way
At least
beyond.
not on video, huh?
That's way beyond the scope of my pay grade.
Well, just a little deliverance came into mind. That was it.
I hear you.
Nah, love him, man. Love him. Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
So I hope Scotsman heard that as well, and Daniel. So that's something I'm cooking up. There's a kidnapping.
That'd be great. I would love to come down for his wedding.
And Mock needs to be hearing that stuff as well as you guys. So what's next?
Hey, Abigail had a great question a little bit back. She was asking about the difference between just cast lead bullets and hard cast bullets. Maybe you ought to make that a topic this evening.
About three.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
About 3 BHN.
Well, that made it clear as mud.
Yeah.
About as clear as what hardcast is, because hardcast is just a word. It's not a.
Yeah, it's pretty general.
It's not a hardness. It's not a setting. It's not a, not on the periodical table. It's a made up word name, and it basically came from the fact that commercial casters, can't send out soft bullets packed the way they do because people will complain about all the dings and the dents and the rounded corners, and then you'll get flack over it. So they make them harder and harder so that they can pack them in the boxes like they do, and they retain their shape. And they call them hardcast. So basically, hardcast, by definition, is anything harder than pure lead is hardcast. So it could be, a piece of granite marble, hard, super hard, 30 BHN. Could be a piece of Andy zinc. Could be, it could be a piece of range scrap at anywhere from 8 or 9 to 10 or 12. All that's hard cast, every bit of it. So that's the difference. It's just
to
hard.
me though. To me though, it's 18. 16 to 20, somewhere in there. That's what I would refer to as hard cast.
Yeah, and when we're talking about these numbers, BHN is the Brinell, BRINELL hardness scale. Okay, pure lead is fairly low on that scale, somewhere down around 5 or 6, just as a number. And so anything, as CW was saying, anything that has a harder value than that on the Brinell hardness scale could technically be called hard cast. Although in practical use, we're up above 10 or 12 or someplace. Up above wheel weights, to me, is what I would call at least harder cast. Some people will set it at around 16 BHN and call that hard cast. But as CW was saying, it's just a number. There's nothing real specific about it. And the way you test it, you stick a spring-loaded pointer that looks kind of like a ballpoint pen into a sample of the metal, and let it sit there under this spring force tension for X amount of time, depends on the testing device you're using, and that creates a dimple in the surface of the metal. And the softer that metal is, the bigger that dimple hole will be, and then you can go look at that size of that dimple hole and make a judgment as to how hard that or soft that lead sample must be. So our harder Brinell hardness alloys usually are that way because they have more antimony and tin in them than a pure lead sample would. That's how we harden the materials up, is by adding those metals in. So,
well, since I've been working in Republic, we get in barrels of range scrap lead, and we don't resell it back out. But every time we get a barrel in, I take like a metal coffee can and just scoop off of it. He lets me pick at it. I can't take all of it because he's going to sell it for scrap. But I get to pick off of it. So I've been mixing that in wheel weights on a 50-50 weight basis. And that's one of my ingots there.
mm-hmm.
And I've been getting really, really good results with that. I don't know what the BHN is. I don't have a BHN tester. I kind of go by the way they shoot, the way they load through my press. If I get any distortion in the bullet, especially if I'm using like a long truncated cone, if I start to see distortion in it, it's either one hasn't sat long enough after being cast, as far as I see it, and then or two, I didn't mix it very well while I was casting. I didn't keep the pot stirred. I hate to stir the pot, but
you gotta lick the spoon from time to time,
Yeah, not one of those spoons.
Pretty nasty, ain't it?
Yeah, you can get a rough idea about whether it's at least hard, medium, or soft. Let's say this is the edge of your bullet. If you take your thumbnail and get it up in there and press hard and scrape your, I guess you can't really see what I'm doing. Kind of scrape your thumbnail back and forth across the edge of either the ingot or the base of the bullet. And if it leaves a really good dent, it's pretty soft. And if it barely dents at all, if you can't dent that stuff by scraping your thumbnail across there, it's up there.
It's hard cast.
I'm,
It's
I'm,
hard cast.
I'm hard.
And that might be up as high as 20 or something like that.
You got to get
and if
pencils.
it's a
Gene.
little mark, it's
Pencils.
probably around 12, 15.
Pencils are the easiest way to test. And you just pick up
the
a
art
pencil kit and you get a chart. I can give you a chart, and you push it like you're pushing a chisel. You sharpen up the tip of the pencil,
You
like
square it off.
chisel. Square it off, and you just push it into the lead, and it'll make a little curl. It'll lift a little curl, and you keep doing it until it doesn't do it, and you back off one size, and then you read the chart, whatever it says, and it'll give you an approximation of how hard your lead is.
Yeah.
And cheap and easy, just a box of pencils.
Yeah,
Give me a second, and I'll get my box. I'll be right back.
With my knife, with light to moderate pressure, it's kind of hard pressed to get a line in.
Yeah, it's pretty hard then.
Yep, it's
It's probably wheel weights at least.
Yeah, I cast everything with it. I cast for my long coal. I cast for my 45 ACP. I cast for my 44 Magnum. So I try to keep it consistent with what works and what doesn't distort out or what doesn't blow apart as it's coming out the barrel.
Generally speaking, you're going to have less problems with harder than softer. But as Dave wrote there, yes, you can get too hard. You can create problems with too hard of lead. So that's why I say generally. Yeah, there's the pencil.
These are the pencils that we used. Okay, this one is made by Stadler, Staedler, and they're just a kit of artist pencils that are in different hardnesses. This one, what did I do? Glue this one together or something?
You just got them at the art. You just buy them at the art supply.
Yep.
Art supply. You can get them off Amazon. You can get them any place. So they're just a set of. Oops. Now I'm missing one. Set of pencils, and I keep a little piece of sandpaper in there to square the points off on them. And then we have this scale that when you use it the way CW explained, you kind of push it across the surface, and these scales are readily available on the net, or we can give you one. But it's really easy, and you can do it on your ingots. It won't be exactly the same as in the center of a bullet, but it'll give you a pretty quick idea of what the hardness is. Most range scrap that you pick up, unless it's 22, rimfire stuff, which is going to be soft, but most of where'd that pencil go? Most range scrap that's jacketed stuff, cup and core stuff, is antimonial lead, which is lead that's got a little bit of antimony in it, usually somewhere around 3%. And so, and that's going to be BHN, what's he? I mean, 9, 8, something like that. You never know for sure with range scrap what you got.
Right. It'll vary because of that. That's when people say, "Oh, range scrap, it's 12 BHN." Range scrap, oh, it's 9 BHN. No, it's whatever it is when you test it, because it could even vary from your own range, from your own pickings, because Billy Joe Bob was shooting all swaged lead bullets for the past month, and Larry, his cousin, has been shooting double tap hard cast for the past month, and he's got an endless supply. So it all depends on what you mine out of the bank when you mine it.
Yeah, and that's why it's good to, when you do a new batch of range scrap lead and smelt it down into ingots, to do a quick test on it, see what it is. And I take a magic marker and write on it. Yeah. Just write 10, 11, 12, 9, whatever it looks like it's going to be. And that'll help you. That helps us blend it to where we want it later. Although, truth be known, for most of the lower pressure loads that we shoot, 40 short and weak and 45 ACP and some, even 45 Colt, 44 special stuff, I'm loading them light enough. I don't need real hard cast lead at all. I don't really care what that range scrap comes in. I'm going to mix it with a little bit more tin to get it to flow a little bit better and call it good. And it usually works out just fine. Just kind of like you were saying, Gene, the stuff you're mixing and it's working,
When I started, when I really got back into casting, casting with my grandfather growing up, we just used pure lead because we were making fish sinkers. So he would just, source just any lead he could and then throw it in. We'd throw it in the molds and make fish sinkers. And when I got back into it quite a bit ago, I started homework in it. And I seen all these BHN tests, and I seen where people would contradict the BHN test and say they're not reliable. It's all opinion. It's all someone's perspective on it. So I thought, well, I'm just going to go with wheel weights, and if I find some other lead, I'll throw it in there. So I did pure wheel weights for a long time, and now since I've been working over there, I just been doing a 50-50, and the ingots are hard, and I'm not having any issues with anything I'm loading behind.
Yeah, and there are times where you're going to want a harder alloy, even with powder coating. You start pushing that stuff up faster and faster, and lead has a tensile strength to it, and if you try to push it lead that's too soft under too much pressure, it'll want to compress and fragment a little bit. So that's one of the reasons to make it a little bit harder. But
how much are we changing the BHN if we do quenching in cold water, or if we let the bullet sit for a few months?
That's a good question, and it's a kind of a complex answer because it depends a little bit on what the alloy is. The more antimony you've got in that alloy, the greater the change in BHN you're going to see by water quenching.
Yeah, pure lead you're going to see nil. You'll see initial hardness, but it'll drop right off. Right back to lead, right back to soft. You need to have arsenic and antimony and tin and copper and all the other hardness things in there for it to respond to the quenching.
Yeah, and the aging thing. TATV Canada did a series a number of years ago about it. He tested stuff every which way but loose. Tested it air dry, powder coat, air dry, or air cool, cast, water cool, air dry, powder coat, water quench again, all of those combinations. And he found that that's not a exactly linear line about the hardness increasing over age. It would kind of zigzag a little bit as it got older and finally reach a point where it would stay a flat line and then start changing again. So the only way to know for sure is to test your own stuff and see, what it's going to do. And if you've got bullets that have been sitting around for 16 years and you've never shot them, they probably are not the same hardness as they were when you cast them. So a lot to be said there. And, if you take lead right out of the mold and powder coat it right away, don't water quench it, and then you stick them back in the oven to powder coat, you're going to kind of re-anneal that lead a little bit and soften it. And then you water quench it or air cool it, whichever way you want to go, and it'll harden up again, not necessarily to the same point as it was though when it came out of the mold. And if you water quench right out of the mold and then let them dry off and then go powder coat, and I did a bunch of my own tests because I wanted to know what had happened. I found that there was little to no advantage with the alloys that I was using to water quench out of the mold, let them dry, powder coat, bake them, and then water quench again. So I quit water quenching right out of the mold. So I just let them air cool and then powder coat and then quench out of the oven.
I quench out the mold because I do 500 to 600 at a time. That's a big hot pile laying next to me.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt to do. It doesn't hurt anything. You probably won't, aren't gaining much in the way of hardness if you're going to powder coat them later. If you're going to traditionally lube, then that's where you get all your gain in hardness is by water quenching. And so if you're going to traditional lube, then it makes sense, of course, to do it then. But again, in large volumes like you're doing, and you've got 1,000 bullets sitting there and they are hot, and you want to get them cool, then it's, how hard is it to put them out in the sun and let them dry, but you got to get them dry before you powder coat, obviously. So
Yeah. I throw them
that
all
makes
in
sense.
a.
Yeah, it makes sense to do it that way for you.
I buy those baking sheets like at the Dollar General store,
Mm-hmm.
and I just got those dedicated. That I only use those just for processing the lead on, carrying the ingots with, putting the bullets on too to dry.
Not for the peanut butter cookies.
Well, I got another pan for that. But I can't show you that on live stream.
Yeah, there's probably some rule about that.
No peanut butter cookie pans. I think I read in the terms of service.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a big long discussion on that, but it is a big deal. There's quite a bit to the whole bullet casting thing, and those are all considerations that we think about when we're doing this. How hard do I need this alloy to be? And just today I was casting some molds that I have been using for 40 Smith & Wesson that are fine with basically with just range scrap out of that caliber. But then I got this new 10 millimeter, and I tried some of those bullets yesterday, and they're too soft. They go up into the hood of the barrel, and they flatten. It was a truncated cone bullet, and makes a big flat spot on that bullet, and they want to hang up after that barrel gets a little bit sooty in there. So I'm going to cast them a little bit harder.
Yeah, that's soft, Walter. That's because I don't have any problems with that with my 10 millimeters, with any of them.
These are
or the 19.
These are Kimbers, and they're notorious for this. My 45 Kimbers do the same stinking thing. If I cast them too soft, they're coming up at a hard angle out of those magazines for some reason. Other firearms I have don't have any issues with it, but and they're not all that soft for bullets. They're BHN 12 by the time I run them in there. But round nose bullets, they don't have any issues with. It's just a semi-wad cutter style or a truncated cone. They go up there and hit that hood, and they get just a little bit flat on one edge. And then when there's some soot up in there, there's a lot more friction, and they don't want to nose over. I can stick my finger in the chamber and clean the soot out of there, and then the next magazine runs fine. And now I come home. You've been picking your nose again, or what? They're all black.
Bama Dad's got a question for us on the screen there, and I don't know what his context is. It must have been for something one of us said, but what would your formula be if you were using wheel weights or pure lead?
Formula for what?
I think
pure lead, like you mean like I've got some pure lead, like lead pipes out in my garage that a guy gave me. You mean that kind of pure lead?
What would your formula be? You mean if we're mixing alloy, our own alloy, Bama Dad? Is that what you're talking about? What would we mix with it?
I think Jamie has an idea of what he's thinking of.
I think what's important is that we personally, I separate my wheel weights before I smelt them. The stick-ons go in one pile and the clip-ons go in another. With that, and then a little bit of pure lead, like what Gene's talking about, and especially if you got a little bit of linotype, you can mix up anything from right at pure lead up to 2022 BHN. And I think back when Dave said, can you cast a bullet that's too hard? Our bullet hardness has to match the pressure of the load that we're going to be using.
Ideally, yes.
Ideally, that's not as critical with powder coating, but if you have the Lee book, page 107, I think, there's a hardness conversion table there to let you know. Okay, that's enough. Carry on.
So I would say that lead table tells you, says, hey, if you're shooting at this pressure, here's the hardness you ought to be using.
And that's a really good guide. It holds true, and it's a really good guide. But remember, it's designed around grease bullets. It does change a little with powder coating.
Yes,
Also,
I've read all that, and I did see that does go around, greased bullets. And the powder coating is a lot different. So when I really got back into it, I started watching people like Fortune Cookie and Elvis Ammo and a couple others, and Iraq veteran, and so that's where I come up with the new info that I thought I needed to start doing it.
so when I smelt, the only thing I mix, or the only thing that's mixed for me, is the range scrap. If I've got wheel weights, those are set aside and only smelted as wheel weights. And wheel weights are separated with stick-ons and crimp-ons, because they are generally different hardnesses. We've discovered that stick-ons, for the most part, are pure or darn near it. So I don't want to mix those with my clip-ons with the steel clips on them, because I don't want to lower that hardness or make them softer. I want them to be what they are. It's easy to make harder. It's hard to make softer. In other words,
Right.
Both of them take adding something to it, ironically. If you've got a really hard lead and you want to make it softer, you have to add soft lead to it. And if you have soft lead, you have to add hard lead to it. So ironically, it's the same thing. You have to add to it to reduce the hardness, or add to it to increase the hardness. It's what you add to it that changes it.
Right.
So I'll take my pure lead, whatever it is, and I'll smelt that. I'll ingotize that. I'll label that, and I'll bucket that, throw it in a bucket as pure. And then I'll have one for lino. I'll have one for mono. I'll have one for super hard. I'll have a bucket for tin. That we get from a number of different places, and Andy is my source. He's a really good guy with that stuff. And range scrap. Range scrap is my biggest bucket. It's a double bucket, and that's what I get the most of, and what I go from. And talking about what Walter said there with rimfire lead is often pretty soft, and that's what everybody thinks. But ironically, I've tested mine a few times, and I'm coming darn near a 12 BHN, 11 and a half BHN.
Whoa, that's surprising.
With rimfire lead. So
Yeah,
that
surprises me.
without testing in the beginning, and I often wondered why, after a couple of weeks, my bullets were so hard, because I was considering it, pretty soft, and adding more hard lead than I needed to. I like to use super hard, available from Roto Metals, because it's about the most antimony you can get in lead commercially, and it runs pretty darn hard. So you don't need to add as much of it to make things harder. So that's what I like to use. But I've picked up linotype, I picked up monotype, stereotype. These are all different kinds of printing lead, and they're all different hardnesses.
Yep.
So they're all usable for what we do for casting our bullets. And I mix them with either the range scrap or the pure lead to make what I need.
That link that Ronnie's got down there takes you to an Excel spreadsheet that lists all these different mixtures, of lead. There's linotype, foundry, monotype, all of those, pewter, tin, solder, all kinds of different materials that are listed, and it allows you to add in different weights of each one, and it'll kick out at the bottom what the hardness should be. It's based on a formula that's not 100% correct anyway in the first place, so it's only close. It's not ever going to be exact, but it's the one that a lot of us, including myself, have used over the years to help us come up with an alloy that's going to be close to the hardness that we want. So, there's range scrap listed on there. Well, the range scrap that he put in that spreadsheet, a little bit different than the range scrap that I'd been getting. And so it allows you to put in your own, and you figure out what your hardness of your base metal is, and you can put that in there and use that within the spreadsheet. Pretty handy. But again, it's not 100% accurate, but it's close. Yeah, James got a good point there. Yeah, wheel weight alloy is what we all used to use forever. California, lead wheel weights are outlawed now, so we don't have that available unless you had a bunch of rat holes someplace. And I ran out of mine a couple of years ago. So,
Yeah,
but it was
clip-on wheel weights will pretty much do anything the average caster is ever going to need. Average, because you can run it straight, you can quench it, you can bake it, harden it, you can bake it, soften it. It'll do everything. It's got everything in it you need to create a dynamite bullet.
That's basically what I've been using. I've just been mixing the range scrap with it here, in the last year, and I've been having very good results with everything. Matter of fact, my tire shop guy texted me yesterday. Ross texted me yesterday and said, "Hey, I got buckets of wheel weights for you down here." I'm like, "Ooh, I'll be down Monday to get them."
Yeah, we used to joke around, Jamie and Willie, and talk about Georgia wheel weights being harder than California wheel weights. They always just seemed to be the way it was, and it was kind of amusing. Well, you got wheel weights. Why? What are they? Are they Georgia wheel weights, or are they? And you'll find that even though we say wheel weights and we talk about it like they're all the same, they're not. There is no governing body that says a wheel weight needs to be X hardness. So it's they tend to be pretty similar, but they're not exact. And you can definitely get some that are harder than others, or some that are softer than others. But they're going to be harder than they're going to be soft. So if I didn't confuse you, they're not going to be pure lead. In other words, stick-ons are a different story. We're talking about clip-ons. COWW, clip-on wheel weights.
Right. Yep. And if you're when you're mixing harder materials that have antimony in them, antimony melts at a much higher temperature than lead does. So you can't just add pure antimony into your pot.
Your average caster can't melt antimony.
Right. So that's why we use stuff like linotype, foundry type, monotype, because it's got a lot of antimony in it, or super hard, which is 30% antimony. It's pre-mixed and blended in with the lead at the foundry. And you just got to keep it stirred up, because it's antimony's lighter than lead, and if you let it sit there long enough in a hot pot, it'll.
And as a matter of fact, if you're not conscious of what you're doing, or you're really running at a low temperature, you can actually separate out your antimony and throw it in a pot if you get oatmeal on top. A lot of people say, "Oh, that's all the tin, that's all the junk." Well, it could be, but it also could be your antimony and your arsenic and your copper and everything else, because none of these materials like to stay mixed together. That's why we always harp on you. Make sure you stir that pot, stir that pot, stir that pot.
Making these alloys, we're not making a new molecule. We're just making a homogeneous mixture, and all that stuff can be separated. It's like throwing salt into a pan of flour and stirring it around, or pepper and stir that around. You haven't made anything new. You've just kind of blended these things together. And so when we talk about a bullet casting alloy, it's still just the components, the various components that are in there, some lead, some antimony, some tin, maybe a little bit of copper, maybe a little bit of arsenic. Okay, it's those things, and they're just all stirred up in there, and you got to keep them stirred up, or you lose the ability of that alloy to give you the hardness that you want. Stuff that comes out of the bottom of the pot is going to be the heavier metals, namely lead. So if you never stir the pot over a long casting period, you're sitting there at that pot for an hour and a half or so, and you've never stirred it. The first, stuff that you get out of there may be as hard, the hardest that you want, but as you wait, the hardening alloys are going to be up more towards the surface. And if it's a bottom pour pot, now all you might be getting out of the bottom is pure lead, which is pretty soft. So you got to keep it stirred.
I always stir my pot. I use a six cavity molds, so I always stir my pot every 2 pours, and I keep that pretty much as a general rule while I'm casting. Every two pours, I stir the pot. 2 pours, stir the pot. That way, I try to maintain some kind of consistency.
Yeah, and it's a kind of a hard thing to keep, for me anyway, to keep it in there. I have to force myself to remember to stir the pot, and what I do is I look down at my sprues. I got a tray that I'm putting my sprues on as I break them off. And I look at that. Oh, I got about 4 or 5, moldfuls. I better go stir that pot.
Yep. So Jamie's got a thing up there on your screen, and that's a new chronograph that Garmin has announced they've released. Now this was I was actually on a forum yesterday or today or recently, and Tommy Boy mentioned that he remembers somebody doing a test on this a couple years ago, and I seem to remember reading something like that too. So this is going to give Lab Radar a run for its money. It's about the same price range, if I'm not mistaken, and it's another option for a better quality, higher end chronograph.
It's certainly more compact. That Lab Radar is
a big unit. Yeah,
giant.
One of the guys I watch on YouTube there, one of the F Class John maybe, just did a video on this, or it's upcoming. It's going to be pretty good. Garmin is generally a little pricey, but they're pretty good stuff. We run them on all the boats.
And for comparison's sake, that Lab Radar is right around $500, or it's close to that.
I'll tell you what, when you go to a USPSA and they do your chrono, they have 2 Lab Radars set up next to each other, and they fire in between them. So that's $1,000 worth of Lab Radar right there.
Yeah.
And they always go with the highest number of the 2.
Paul's saying 625 for the Lab Radar now. Wow, they're up there.
Wow.
That's a lot of money. There are reasons why that might be an option, and I used one because I was shooting indoors, and couldn't set up an optical chronograph downrange. So and even if you're shooting at an outdoor range where you don't have that option of setting up an optical chronograph out in front of you out there, then something like a Lab Radar or this one or the bayonet type that attaches to the firearm. No, that looks good. I like the size of it.
It was really small on the table next to the rifles in that picture at the top. So, and it's starting at $5.99.
Yeah, that's up there. You got to identify a real need, to have one like that.
Well, one thing I'm encouraged about is it's a Garmin, and
yeah,
I've not played with a Lab Radar. That's way out of my price range. I'd have to make a decision that's what I'm going to be going after. But I'm telling you, what's encouraging about it to me is it's a company that's known for other stuff, and they're getting into a shooting line, and that's we see so many other companies like Nikon Scopes, for example, going the other way, leaving the firearms community, and to see a company that's not known as a firearms related business to get into it is encouraging to me, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes lots of sense. And another nice thing about Garmin is that being a motorcyclist, I've had 2 or 3 or probably more than that of their GPS units, and they all plug right into your computer for firmware upgrades and map upgrades. It's always been really easy to upgrade those units. Garmin has always made it real simple to do that, so I would suspect that this one will have a similar capability. Probably some sort of ejectable or removable memory as well.
I don't see how that thing's going to work that good being that small, but yeah, Tommy Boy says Nikons are now SIG scopes, and maybe they'll Bluetooth to the phone, to the watches. So that would be cool.
Yeah.
So that might be something I'd be interested in down the road. So we still haven't called out the side chat yet. You guys type in BHN and I'll call your name out. If I can
There
do
you
that.
go. Good call.
You could
beat,
shoot
you beat
4 or
me,
5.
Walter.
You could shoot 4 or 5 Caldwell chronos for that price.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, well,
You know what? I'm gonna knock on some wood here. That I've only shot one of my rods. I never did find it. I don't know where it went. It went out there somewhere in that gravel.
Orbit.
Bank.
You know what they say? There's two kinds of people that own chronographs.
Those that
Those
have
that
it,
shot them and those that are gonna shot them.
That's it. Those that have and those that are gonna.
yeah, but I shot mine with the world's finest cartridge and it made a mess. All right, let's get back up here. All right, here we go. We got Walter in first. And while I'm doing this, let's get MCK's comment. He's on the road. We got Walter reloading from the hot pot, both in the side chat and on the panel. Trees are blowing. What's going on, Trees? Tommy Boy, 6-shooter Texan, Hobbies Hobo, Tactical Fud, Papa's Place, Paul Loud, Bama Dad, Duffer 426, MCK, Reloader 762, Hobbies Hobo, Rick Harris, the Scottish American. KFW, good to see you out there, brother. Dwayne 7834, Thorzax, Kyle, Bobby Barlow, Tim S, Andy 79Z28. Let's put his comment up there. So yeah. CW Longshot, Georgia Trapping and Fishing, Abigail Finnegan, MCK Pony _47, James Pugh, James Pollard. Did y'all plan that? Tactical Rabbit 308, MCK, CW Longshot, Tim S, and I think that's it. Thank all y'all for being here this evening. And so here in a few minutes, we'll get to that segment that we missed so much last week. What's Hot Pot got? I said that a whole lot better than that, didn't I?
That's a little tongue twister once in a while now, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm on the leading edge of my game tonight, though, because I'm sick. I got some cold medicine in me, and you know how that kind of don't want you to go to sleep. I came home from work today after lunch, and I mean, I hit the sack, and I didn't move until like 4:30. I mean, that's just sorry as dirt, guys. I mean, Oh, there's Floyd Hicks and Info Bros. Yeah, let me make sure I didn't miss anybody else.
Yeah, but when you need it, Jamie.
Yeah, it is. Tactical Rabbit uses magneto speed. And Rich White, I couldn't tell you. I think you're still here. You were here when you wrote that comment. How about that?
I'm going to comment on Reloader 762s. He says bamboo skewers make a fine replacement rod if you shoot yours. Well, my local Ace Hardware has brass and aluminum rod that exact size, and they sell it in 3-foot lengths. So I've had to hack a piece of it off.
The bat flew. Good night, Rich White.
Good night, Rich.
Feel better, buddy.
I have a magneto speed also, and I've used it successfully for a long time. It has some shortcomings. It won't attach to something like a 4 5/8 inch revolver barrel very well, and it won't attach to a semi-auto without a pick rail. So it doesn't work with everything. It works on most rifles. They're set up for that. I mean, I think that's what the original intent was for that magneto speed anyway, but it worked really well for me as an indoor chronograph for many of my firearms, handguns.
I think a chronograph is pretty important when you're working up loads. But those of you that have, if this means anything to you, those of you that have quick loads, and it's been going around like this cold I got. I think it was Gavin Tube, Ultimate Reloader, did a video about comparing the results from quick loads data to what the lab radar said, and I think he said it was within 5 feet per second.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So if I want to know how fast something's going, I'll pretty much just do that.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested in this Garmin thing because it's so dang small. I mean,
Yeah. You throw it right in your range bag and go.
yeah.
I keep my chrono in my trunk with a tripod stand.
Me
I
too.
mean, it's in there.
Back seat of my truck, but yeah.
Yeah, that's its home.
Yep.
In the right corner of my trunk. Fits right in nice little cubby hole in my trunk. Just lay it down there, put the tripod stand on it, and that's just where it lives.
What kind you got, Tommy boy? Is that the lab radar? I know Thorzak's. I mean, you just gotta when it comes to Gavin Tube and that kind of stuff, you gotta pick and choose what you can. Yeah, Ultimate Reloader, Gavin Tube, same thing to me.
Yeah. It's got some good information. I mean, but take what you need. Don't over process it.
Comp electronic Bluetooth. I bet that's cool. Yeah, just process what you need, man. That's all.
It's about the same price as Lab Radar. It's about $500-600 InfoBro.
Yeah. At one of our major reloading type places that's advertised pre-order for $599.99. Secure yours today.
A lot of times, particularly with electronics, it's not always a real good idea to get the very first run of some of those things. I'm always a little skeptical. I would kind of want to wait until they're field tested by everybody else before I want one. Find out what the issues are going to be.
Yeah, let them work the bugs out.
Yeah.
Wait a year, then buy one. Man,
Just like buying Don't buy a brand new model motorcycle either.
Or one
Gene's
built on
putting out
Monday or
videos?
Friday.
One of your videos just posted, Gene. Just flashed on my screen.
That's probably the one for the Safe Queens.
Vector Optics.
Oh yeah, my new green dot. I'm really digging these greens, man. All
Yeah,
my
greens
reds,
are-
I think, are going to go back in the boxes, and they're going to get replaced with greens.
Greens are pretty cool. We can see green better
Yeah,
than we can see red.
I bought that new Hollow Sun 507 competition, and I got it in green. And I questioned if I was going to like it or not. I put it on and looked through it. I was like, "Oh my goodness, wow, this is
Hey,
nice."
Big Al.
Nice. We
Hey, Big Al.
got Big Al in here.
I was
Hey,
gonna
Al.
buy something for the 454, but I looked to see what I've got that I can move around first, and I'm pretty good. I think I've got I know I do. I've got one of Justice. I just thought of the name of it. Swamp Fox Justice. That was on my PC carbine. That I put the 25 TL 25 on. So I'm probably going to use that. That's what's on it right now with the new base on it. But the mount that I ordered has got a dedicated RMR base, and that's what that Swamp Fox is. So I'll be trying that. But I just
Since we brought that up, why don't you go ahead and tell us about that new firearm that you're talking about?
talked to online sent me a link to a base that I couldn't find. The rifle is a Grail gun, and the video posted a few days ago, and there's going to be quite a few other ones because it's a Grail gun. If you don't know what a Grail gun is, we all have Grail guns, and those are guns that are your holy Grail, something you've always wanted, maybe never thought you could afford, never thought you would find. Limited production, out of production, it doesn't really matter. It could be a heritage revolver. It could be a I don't know, something special, $10 million gun. Doesn't really matter. Whatever floats your boat, that's your Grail gun. And a lot of us have a list on our Grail guns. This has been one that I've wanted pretty much since I known it existed. I got my first Rossi a long time ago. They were rough, and I gone through it and smoothed it up, slicked it up. 357, and it's a really nice rifle. It was a way to get Winchester 92 ish without spending those kind of dollars. Or back in those days, Winchester 92s were actually not that expensive, but a lot of them were 3220 and 2520, and they were getting rechambered to 357 Magnum because that was the thing to do. It was an expensive rifle. They were all over the place, and then they kind of dried up. You couldn't find them. They weren't overly expensive when we're talking about the 80s. They weren't overly expensive, but you just didn't find them. So Rossi started producing theirs, and they were pretty popular, but they were pretty rough. They were stamped parts, a lot of burrs, a lot of rough edges. They were rough, and they cleaned up pretty good, but they were not great. Well, they have changed immensely. This last batch of them, just coming in, I keep getting comments in my videos and in a couple of my posts on forums that these last bunch coming in the country are just really, really nice guns. And this is almost as smooth as my slicked up 357 and my slicked up 45 Colt. I looked and looked and looked. I was resistant. Back in the day, there was no gun broker or any of these online stuff. You couldn't do any of that. And so I looked and went in every gun store looking for these guns and never could find them. Couldn't order them. Or at least distributors were always out of stock when I was looking. and I never could get one. And I saw that a couple of them were becoming available in the last few months, and I saw a couple of them on Gunbroker. And I don't know. I've bought off Gunbroker, but by and large, I don't. I like for it to be in my hands, see what I'm getting, see what I'm buying, and then take it home. So I was at a party last weekend at a gun store because they have a big complex with classrooms for pistol classes and such. So the family is related to the owner of the gun shop, so he allowed them to use the back room. And I got there early, and I know the owners as well, so I wandered out into the gun store, and I'm walking around, and it's closed, so it's nice. There's nobody there. I'm walking around and checking stuff out, and I spy a whole rack of lever actions, which I know he has. He's got a really good selection there. But I see that two of them are a little taller than the other two because they got rubber recoil pads on them. And I know what a rubber recoil pad is for on a Rossi lever action. And that only comes on the 454s. So I didn't want to walk behind the counter. So I just was able to see one tag, and I saw that it said 454. So I assumed that he had two of them. And I gave him a call on Monday morning and asked him if he was going to be in there, and grabbed a rifle out of my safe and headed in. 5-6 years ago, I looked really hard for one of these, couldn't find one, and ran across this Rossi 45 Colt 24-inch octagon barrel, and kept looking. Went to another store. A week or so went by. I called the guy back and said, "Hey, you still got that rifle?" He says, "Yeah." So I went down there and I bought it. It was pretty much do everything I needed it to do. It was a pretty rifle, octagon barrel, 24-inch. I said that. Case color receiver, really pretty rifle. I've had it in a couple of videos, and that was going to be my replacement for a 454. So when I found this one, I got to thinking, well, much as I don't want to sell off any guns or trade anything off, I bought this because I couldn't get that. Well, now I can get that, so I don't need this. So I brought it in and talked to him and worked a deal, and we were both happy. And I was able to leave with the 454 for, very, very, very good exchange. And I am thrilled. It's like I say, it's out of the box, just about as smooth as that 45 Colt that I went through, and just about as smooth as my 3D7.
Nice.
So I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, give you a chance to cast some of those big bullets too. And shoot them.
My number one concern from Sunday until Tuesday when I picked it up was the sights, because if you remember back a few videos ago, I picked up it's going to be over a year ago. I picked up the rifle, but it's a Browning 92 44 mag, and I could not see the sights at all. It had the old school carbine Winchester sights on it. They didn't even have a dovetail. They had a little bitty block and a little bitty blade that pinned in for a front sight. And I couldn't see it at all, no matter what. I couldn't see it. And there's really no way to change it without gunsmithing. I would have to machine that off and put a dovetail in or find something else in order to put a peep on it, because I can still see peeps. So my biggest concern was everything I buy revolves around hunting. And if I can't see the sights, it's only going to be a fun range gun at close range stuff. And do I really need to be outlaying $1,000 for this? So the answer is no. Well, with a little bit of research, I found out that all the new Rossis are coming through drilled and tapped under the rear sight base. And I was skeptical if this one had it because the 454 is special different. And when I went and looked, sure enough, it was. So I looked on eBay and I found an NOE base used for $25. So I grabbed that, knowing that NOE hasn't made this base in a while. And it came in today. And that video I should be out tomorrow, I believe, of that getting mounted up. Or that one, that was today.
That was today.
Was today.
That was today, yeah. The mold is today. So I got that mounted up and I threw on that Swamp Fox dot. And I think tomorrow I'm going to go to the range, and I think I'm going to bring the TRS 25 too, just to try them both and see, because I just got a link to a factory Rossi base for that comes on one of their fancy guns, the blacked out fancy gun. It's got a Williams style peep built into the base, built into a pick rail base. So that kind of appeals to me because I could put the dot on there and still have iron sights, just one screw, take the dot off, and I've got a peep sight. So if something happens to that dot, or if I just don't want it on there because it sticks up too much, whatever, I still have sights.
Yeah.
So that really appeals to me. It's $35, so it's not a big deal cost-wise. So I'm really thinking I'm going to send that out. The bad thing is, last night, reading Georgia Boy's comment about the NOE base, he mentioned that it's pretty tall. He knows I like stuff low on the firearm, on the barrel. So he said I may not like it because it's pretty thick. So I snooping around on the phone, I found a company that makes a dedicated base that takes the RMR or a doctor style. I ordered the RMR style right on the barrel for a really clean mount, which is very similar to what I ended up putting on that Browning 92. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you guys, but it's a very clean, small base. Fits right on the barrel, contour to the barrel. Really, really nice and clean looking. About as nice, clean as you could put for mounting an optic on a lever. Because I'm still old school and still levers shouldn't have scopes around as far as I'm concerned. Peep sights are great, vernier or tang or receiver mounted or even barrel mounted or irons, great. That's what they're designed for. I'm hard pressed to put scopes on them. Now, being a little hypocritical because I can't see them anymore, and I've had to put scopes on a couple of levers that I like to use because of that. But I can still see peeps. So I think I'm going to have a third base for this gun that I've only had for a week and a half. And I'll already have 3 different bases for it. But I think it's going to give me my best option. I'll have a peep sight that I should be able to see. Actually, the factory irons are not that bad for whatever reason. That front is bold enough, wide enough, heavy enough, and there's enough airspace around the rear sight slot that I can see it. So I could shoot it as is with irons, probably 25 yards, okay. But I can also do that with a handgun, so I don't need to lever for that. But anyway, so that's what we're talking about, and that's my Grail gun. And to make it even better, it didn't cost me a whole lot. So that's the best. I get what I wanted. I got to play with a 45 Colt, which I loved, and now I got it in 454, which I can still shoot 45 Colts in. My personal need for it was at first. I've been a 45 Colt fan forever, and when I was younger, I couldn't afford expensive Colts and such, so I had Rugers, I had copies, I had different things, and I could shoot pretty much anything in them. Well, then I was able to buy a Colt. I picked up a second generation 45 Colt, and I was all of a sudden worried about any of those Ruger level heavy loads getting in the cylinder and blowing up my expensive gun. So I started with only cast bullets in 45 Colt for lighter loads. So anything jacketed I knew was a heavier load, and I shouldn't put it in the Colt. And then I picked up a couple of really nice clones, and I picked up another Colt, and I picked up another Colt, so I really got paranoid. So I stopped with all the Ruger level loads And Freedom Arms was just starting. Well, they had probably about 10 years, so it was mid 90s. Freedom Arms was really selling those 454s, and one came in the store used, so I picked it up. And that was the end of all heavy loaded 45 Colts for me, just from the peace of mind of not having to worry about blowing up one of my expensive guns with a heavy load. And I could load everything heavier in the 454. Now, in the meantime, I had hunted deer a lot with the 45 Colt and discovered that factory level 45 Colts and even the lighter end Ruger level 45 Colts worked just fine. You really didn't need all that extra horsepower to do everything I needed to do with them, which is deer and pigs inside 100 yards. 1,000 feet per second with a 250 grain bullet will pretty much do anything in that realm that you need done. Maybe if you got big bears, you could justify some more power, but I didn't need it around here. So I loaded the Casull to the low and mid range of the Casull level, and it worked out great for me. I picked up a single shot and I rechambered it to 454, and I shot that and hunted with that for a whole bunch of years. And then I picked up a 450 Bushmaster Ruger bolt action, and I traded the 454 single shot in on that rifle because the Bushmaster is basically just a big 454, 460, 45 Colt. It's the same diameter bullets, same ballistics, or better. So it covered everything that 454 did. So I used the 450 Bushmaster, and that's a nice rifle too. But it's a bolt rifle. It's a bolt gun. This is a lever. It's a 92 Winchester copy. It's a nice rifle, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I will agree with CW as far as the quality of the Rossies. I've seen a few of them at my local gun store lately, and they are not the same as they were in the 80s. They're this last batch, they've really upped their game. And I want to talk a little bit about this particular comment that Big Al put out there. When you say a Colt 45, there's so many, that means so much in so many different ways.
Mhm.
Of course, my mind goes back to the 1873 Peacemakers, what CW calls a Model P, the single action Colt Armies.
Mhm.
Uh, but then you get to the 1911 platform, and Colt was making those for the Army then too. So yeah, that can mean so many things, and that's the introduction of the 1911 led us to the phrase, I think, in my mind anyway, it's 45 long Colt. So yeah, we can. It's an iconic statement, and it means so much to in so many different ways. And one of the guys back there said they have never put a scope on a lever action. You get old enough, you will, buddy.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, about 40 years old, I started needing these things, and it just gets worse no matter what you do. It's just
Right.
just the way it is. You start getting aches and pains. You start losing your eyesight. You start turning gray in your hair, and it's just the way it is.
Well, we got a couple of segments coming up. Then we want to. I think that statement you made about grail guns, and you've got one that you considered a grail gun. I think we need to go through the panel and the side chat as well. And what is your next grail gun? What do you think is a grail gun?
Yeah, like I said, for me, it's something that you want it's really hard to attain. Whether it's hard to attain from a price point or from a discontinued point, it hasn't been made in years. You know, it's one grandpa had, your uncle had, your brother had, whatever makes it special to you. And it's difficult to get for either monetary or production reasons. That makes a grail gun.
Yeah, something that's
like I want a brawler like Mark's got, but that's not a grail gun. I can go to the store and buy it. I can go to any gun store and order it right now. It's not a grail gun. That's just something I'd like to play with.
Yeah.
Grail gun is like.
So are you ready, Gene?
Sure.
Hold on one second.
Just because I'm off doesn't mean I'm not paying attention. That probably didn't come out right, but there it was anyway.
It's that time once again, folks, for that segment we like to call What's Hot Pot Got?
I love it.
See what happens when a redneck goes high tech.
That's when we sharpen our pencil, right? That's high tech for a redneck.
Yeah. I don't know if I've showed this before or not. I don't remember if I showed it before we started this little series that we're on right now with this, but I brought it out anyways because it's very, very interesting. And this is a 375 H&H mag. Beautiful long cartridge. It is a banded cartridge.
Belted,
I'm sorry. Banded, belted. That's the same thing, isn't it? In the long run. But I'm going to give you a little history about this, as I always try to. This is a 375 H&H mag, also known as a 375 Holland & Holland Magnum. It's a medium bore rifle cartridge introduced in 1912 by London-based gunmaker Holland & Holland. The belt is to ensure the correct head space, which otherwise might be unreliable. The bullet diameter is 3.375 inches or 9.5 millimeters. Case capacity is 95 grains. This was designed in 1912. Place of origin is United Kingdom. The most places this was used was African safari hunting because of its takedown power, its velocity. Winchester was the first U.S. gunmaker to produce rifles chambered in the cartridge, and so did in the beginning of 1925. So it's a 1916 cartridge. They started making rifles for it here in 1925. Isn't that just a big, beautiful, wannabe bullet?
That's a big old case.
That is 95 grains. Woo!
The cartridge weighs 95, or that's how much powder charge is?
That's the powder.
What size bullets go in there?
0.375 or 9.5 millimeter.
Well, I knew that. I'm talking about weight.
That I do not know. I did not see anything on that, but I bet CW could tell us.
Low 200s to 300.
I knew it.
Very good. Nice.
Isn't that really cool?
That typically would be shot in those break open double rifles, would it not?
Yes. Yes.
It also was a cordite round, if I'm not mistaken, when it first was made.
Very expensive firearms. Of course, they're handmade like all European shotguns.
Can you buy this round commercially?
Oh yeah,
already loaded.
Very, very popular.
What would that cost per round?
Oh, most of that big stuff is pretty expensive. $100 a box.
I mean, you're looking at taking down elephants and.
Yeah, it's a minimum African dangerous game caliber for most provinces. Minimum.
Man, that's a huge one.
It's a
I
big
put a, you definitely need a rubber stock pad for that one. But that is what Hot Pot's got.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks.
Ain't that fun? All right.
Yep. Good
Mr.
squirrel count.
Mark Thomas, you have not said much of anything tonight. You have a book.
Yeah, I'm going to take a second talking about 375 H&H. I'm reading a book right now since my cable was out, Horn of the Hunter by Robert Rourke. And that's one of the guns that he uses on this African safari, amongst a few others. And great book. If anybody's interested, it's a fun one. Very like Hemingway-esque.
That's a nice coincidence there, Mark.
Yeah.
You're reading that book and I bring that cartridge out to show.
Yep.
That's really cool. It's in the universe of strange place.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that mess. $85 to $150 a box.
Wow.
$135 for 20. And Remington Ultra Mag, I guess is what that means.
Yeah.
Well, did you want to know what my Grail gun would be, Jamie?
Yes, sir.
I think I
Take it
share
off
it.
the big screen.
I think I share it with a few other panel members. I am looking for a 41 Magnum.
Oof.
Yep. Why? Because I want one. There are other things that I want to get. I want to get myself a nice 45 Colt single six. Actually, being tempted by a Ruger Blackhawk right now at a local. I've had that good feeling. A year or so ago, I picked up a 327 Magnum. That was something I was wanting, and it's not impossible to find, but it's not something you find everywhere. So that's that's kind of my Grail gun. That 41 Magnum. Just want one because.
It's a good one. It's a fine caliber. I've had a few different makes, and they always tend to shoot really good. They're new enough, mid '60s design, that they don't have a lot of problems of the older guns with the dimensional issues. So one of the most accurate handguns I ever had was a Smith 57.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable. I just put that front sight on and that bullet was there, and it was uncanny. My Black Hawk is really good. I missed out on a Red Hawk a number of years ago. Just great, just a really nice caliber.
Yeah. My local guy has a Model 57 new, but yeah, they were $1,300, and I'd rather have a Blackhawk personally, single action Blackhawk, but they're hen's teeth, they're unicorns, and they have been for a while. I don't know why. There's nothing snazzy or fancy or about a Ruger Blackhawk and 41 mag. Lots of guys have them. That just right now, I don't know if Ruger's
Production
not
numbers
making them
weren't
or
high, and people are realizing that now they're good guns.
yeah. That's the Smith, though. I'd love to have that one. The guy's got a nice one, and it's just a lot of money.
You got a Grail gun list, Gene?
Well, I got two in particular. I would love to retain again a Marlin 35 Remington lever action. Sadly, I had one and I had to part with it due to some life reasons. I did not want to, but it was a necessity at the time. And I would like to obtain a full open race gun in 9 major. One that I want is between $7,000 and $8,000. It's custom built. There's a local guy who makes them, McLearn Firearms. He's a world champion shooter, and now he builds world champion guns, world champion quality. So I was over at the shop the other day, stopped in, and I know him, but man, putting that kind of ching down is just I'd have to sell a lot of things I've got, and I just don't know if I'm willing to part with all those things to get that one thing. You know,
Yep.
I mean, I could sell my motorcycle and buy it, but you know, selling this big 1,000-pound motorcycle for this little pew pew in your hand just doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah, it's all about the enjoyment you get out of it.
Yes, I know, James, out there. I see all your videos on your 35 Remington, and it makes me sick. I can't watch them. I miss mine. I had a 1971 336 Marlin, 35 Remington lever action. You know, life gets us in tight spots, and I was proud to own it, though. I did get to enjoy it for a long time. You know, I had a 1950 Ford Custom with a flathead V8 in it, all restored. I got to enjoy that for a long time and ended up selling that just to pass it along. No, Paul, I do not need 2 kidneys. I only need one. I just can't find anybody to buy the one I've got. You know, I want to sell the used one off. I want to try to keep the newer one.
Okay, Walter, what's your grail gun?
Probably the same one as Mark has, but the one I've been looking for the longest is a 41 mag. But other than that, it's probably the next one that I see on somebody else's YouTube that I don't have. You know, there isn't anything that I'm really, really looking hard for other than the 41 mag, and it could end up being a Smith, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to spend that kind of loot. $1,300 a lot of money, and I busted a tooth yesterday shooting that 10 millimeter. I'm gonna end up owing my next firearm is going to go to the dentist.
How did you break a tooth shooting a 10 millimeter?
I had a crown that was already cracked, and I came home and bit into a pea, a green pea that I was having for dinner. Going, what? How do you get a bone in a spoonful of peas? Oh man, big old chunk of the crown came off, so she's got to go rebuild that one for me.
Well, do you have Harbor Freight where you're at?
Yeah,
they sell those multi-packs of super glue.
Yeah,
pretty cheap.
I still got the pieces going to glue it back on. That's basically what she might do, although I think that particular crown is a fairly new one, and it comes with a 10,000 mile warranty or something. I don't know. Yeah. I'll get in next week.
Make sure the warranty covers peas.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a road hazard. Yeah. Paul says, JV Weld. Yeah, I've tried that before. It tastes terrible though.
Nothing like a good 2-part epoxy.
Yeah.
That's all they're going to do. They're going to mix up a 2-part epoxy, dip it in that, and stick it back on.
Actually,
the whole thing didn't come off. It broke. So she's going to have to make a new one.
They have this stuff now that they harden with a light, ultraviolet light.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff is awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's a lot better than the lead fillings I have in my teeth from back when I was a kid.
Yeah, I got those too, Jamie.
So, anyway, my grail gun obviously is a 44 Magnum lever action, which I'm holding out till Marlin gets gets all the bugs worked out and they become a little bit plentiful. But I agree with Scotsman. 29-1. Any of those old, particularly old Smiths, the no dash, the dash ones, dash twos, any of those would be great to have. And the newer ones, they're just not the same. I picked up a brand new 29 at my local gun shop, and I was a whole lot more impressed with the advances Rossi has made in their lever actions than I was uh, the Smiths being the same as they were back in the day. They are just not. And anybody that would buy a current production Ruger over a current production Smith and Wesson, uh, I really couldn't argue that because, in my opinion, to get a Smith and Wesson revolver that's like they used to be,
Yeah.
you got to go back at least to the mid '90s and before. Good night,
The
Andy.
last, go ahead. Yeah, good night, Andy. The last Smith that I got was my uh, 25, and it's a dash 15, and the quality is not what my dash twos are, anything close to it. The bluing is way different, and when I first got a hold of that one, I thought, man, it's just quality is not that good. The stocks that came on it were not fit very well. That's the one, Jamie, that I put those grips on that you sent me, and that made that gun a whole lot nicer to me. Was having a decent set of stocks on it, but so I'd be, I'm kind of reluctant to go buy a brand new, I'll say modern Smith and Wesson after that 25 that I got. If I could find a nice used, dash 2 to dash 4 or something like that, I'd be a little happier about it. But
Even a Model 10 dash 6 and earlier, they had the heavy pinned barrels on them,
mm-hmm.
and Johnny 1982. I have my 586 is a no dash, but the ones you get nowadays are not the same. And my 686 is a dash 1, and I bought it off of Big E, and that thing shoots awesome. And other than that, um, the only other gun that I would, at some point in time in the future, I may build myself a really nice long range rifle. You got that right, Scotsman. All right, so is it time for our verse of the week?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's see if I can get this up here.
I got my book. I'm ready to go.
Well, actually, I can't.
Oh,
I forgot to click save, but that'll only take a second. Let's do this.
Steve's Woodworking and Homestead. Welcome in, man. Good to see
What's
you.
up, Steve? Okay, remember last time we started talking about the Beatitudes.
Mm-hmm.
The next two are verses 5 and 6 of Matthew chapter 5. And it says, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled." Okay, the meek shall inherit the earth. What does meek mean? It means power under control. It's like when you are uh, riding that motorcycle, you got the throttle in one hand and you're slipping that clutch with the other, and that's power under control. See, Jesus had, when he was on that cross, he had full power to call down a legion of angels to come get him and take him home. But he didn't do that. That's meek.
Mm-hmm.
That's power under control. And if we can attain that meekness that was in Christ Jesus, we shall inherit the earth. And then that's going to lead you into end times prophecy, but that's way above my pay grade. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. It don't say blessed are they which hunger and thirst. It says hunger and thirst after righteousness. For they shall be filled. Comments? Questions?
Yeah, I think that verse 6 is one that's that we see, at least the message in verse 6, that blessed are those who are working towards being righteous, that want to be and that are actively working at it. I think that's a message that we see throughout the Bible. That and it's right there in black and white that says, "Hey." I think kind of the underlying message there too, or at least part of it, is that we know that we're not perfect, and we can't be. I mean, there was only one perfect man, and they crucified him. The rest of us are all trying, and we're striving. We try to keep moving forward in our along the path of righteousness, and we know that we're going to take a step backwards now and then. But as long as you take more steps forward than you do backwards, I think that's what they're saying. That you're striving for that. You're hungering and thirsting to become a righteous person. That's those are the folks that are going to be blessed. My take on it, anyway.
I agree. Rick, a lot of people do think that meek means weak. It's not. It's like I said, to me, it's that power under control.
Yeah, you're not flaunting your, whatever strength and power that you have. You're not holding that out in front of everybody, saying, "Look how big and tough and strong and so forth that I am, and how powerful I am."
That's a good point, Dave. We have to pray and ask for wisdom to know what is personal and what is righteousness.
Yeah, if meek just meant weak, then we'd have to interpret that as meaning it's going to be the insects that are going to inherit the earth, not us. So, that's pretty clear that that's not what the intent is here.
Not really, Walter. Do you know a ant can lift 4 times his body
Yeah.
weight?
Well, yeah, there is that, and there's some pretty potent spiders out there too, I guess.
While we're in this section, Fuzz asked that we say a prayer for Israel. If y'all would allow me, I'll do that. So let's pray. Great and gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening with thankful and grateful hearts, and we take a pause out of our fun on a Friday night and just take a snippet of your holy word and hopefully convey a good message to our viewers. And Father, we pray that it glorifies you. But right now, we want to lift up your chosen people, the nation of Israel. And we pray for their protection. We pray that you would protect them and that your will would be served. And the outcome you want will be established in this conflict. Lord, we lift up our leaders and our congressman, our president, as we decide how we should support Israel. And heaven forbid, Lord, that we ever turn against Israel, because we would never, as your people, as your children, as the bride of Christ Jesus, your one and only Son, we would never turn our backs on the nation of Israel. And Lord, we know that at some point there's going to be a chosen elected official that would not agree with the way your children think about the nation of Israel. We just dread that moment. And Lord, we pray that you'd keep us in line with your will and your ways. Lord, glorify yourself in the way that we live, the way we support Israel, and the way Israel will win this conflict. May you be glorified. May you be praised and honored. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen to that.
Amen.
That by my dad is when people ask me how I'm doing, I say I'm better than I deserve. All right, we got to start. Gizzard Gary's announcement already come on, so thank you guys for tolerating my my verses of the week and my prayers and all of that stuff. It's just part of who I am, and I know I'm not that way enough. So there's that. What else we got time to talk about? CW, you got another grail gun?
I've got a couple that I'd like. Yeah.
You got a Grail mold?
No,
You got them all already.
I got it already. Yeah. I've been a big fan of the 57 Maximum for a lot of years, and I got a number of different firearms that's been chambered in. And one Grail gun that I checked off the list a number of years ago was a Savage 24 and 57 Maximum. They're pretty rare, and I was able to get one. I was pretty happy about that. I'd like to have a revolver in 37 Maximum, and probably what it would be a BFR custom. I believe that they'll do it through their custom shop, but that's a couple $1,000, so it's no time soon.
Yeah,
it's a like, not a need. So
Cool. I'd like to take a quick moment to mention to our friend Walks Fletcher, who was in the hospital today. He's back home now, but he had to have a procedure done. He's all right. He's just had an old man issue that had to go in and get fixed, and not in the same sense that your dog got fixed, but but close by. Let's say that.
ouch.
yeah, he just
Anyway,
he woke up. He's awake and watching or listening.
He's awake. So hey, Walks, glad to see you survived.
Oh my goodness. I just thought of another one. I would really like to have a real Colt single action army 1873.
Oh,
That'd be cool.
yeah, that's a good one. I could add that one as well. But that rascal Mac man got one. I need to go over and visit him and come home with 90% of the stuff he's got. Let him start all over again. He's got some nice firearms too.
Yeah, I think he needs a fresh start.
Yeah. I'm fixing to go first part of next week to go lay money down on a new RPR and 17 HMR. Not a Grail gun by any stretch of the imagination, but I've got a ton of 17 HMR ammo that I bought up a whole bunch of rimfire stuff just before California laid down the law and said we can't have it shipped to our home anymore. So I got a bunch of it. And I got a couple of 17 HMR rifles, neither of which are much to write home about. So I was watching Ron Wayne's videos last week on his 22 RPR, and I thought, you know what? I've been thinking about that for a long time, so I'm gonna go get me one. Local guy's got one, so but I got to wait until this credit card bill passes. I got too much money on this month's card. I got to get paid off, and then I'll be clear again and go get another one. so.
Yeah, Joe, he commented on one of my videos a week or so ago. I talked to him. He's just working. He's been fiddling with that truck, and he changed jobs again. But last I talked to him, he was doing okay. Good night, Big Al.
Big Al.
Good night, Al.
Night.
Yeah, Lead Bullet Junkie doesn't live too far from me. I talk to him on the phone every once in a while. I haven't talked to him either in quite a while. So the other one I haven't heard hiding or hair of for a long time is Leadsmith. I don't know what became of him.
Yeah, he's been quiet.
You know, he's in Georgia. I can probably run him down. I'll see if I can get in touch with him between now and next week.
Yeah, it'd be nice to hear about him, even if he doesn't want to, put out videos and stuff. It would be nice to know if he's doing okay. I enjoyed his videos when he was doing them.
He's a fun dude too, man. He's originally from Texas and moved over here to Georgia, if I remember correctly. All right, we should probably start going through the room and clear the floor for Gizzard Gary.
Wizard.
Dang, Six, I hate to hear your Henry is in New Jersey again. Bummer, man.
Dang. Yeah.
You should send them a note telling them that you paid money for that gun, and if they wanted to keep it, then they shouldn't have sold it to you.
Right.
They just let you borrow it for a while. And anyway, let's go through the room. Mark, you want to go first?
Sure. No big plans upcoming. Don't know about any big plans for videos. I did watch Trees a Blowin's range bag video before the program, and I think I'm going to do that tomorrow. Just show what's in your bag. And I did do some loading. I got some 45 Colt loaded up. I got some 45 ACP loaded up that I need to test. So maybe those will make it to the range. And, that might well be it. We'll see what the weather does around here because it's starting to change. We're starting to get pretty cool. And I might start spending some time in the woods instead of making videos. So been wonderful to be here tonight. I really did miss it last week. It was just real nice to be here. Been looking forward to it. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, brother. We appreciate you very much. Gene, what's going on, buddy? You got plans this week?
Do I have plans this week? I'm going to get some work done, get some casting done, get some videos done. Just an average week for me. That's all I ever seem to do is work and play and then play and work and then work and play and then play and work. It's a repetitious cycle that I go through. Thanks for having me on tonight. I really missed last week, but I had a wedding rehearsal, and Saturday I officiated a wedding for two good friends of mine. Had a very good time at it. It was a very nice event. Yeah, it's very good. But thanks for having me on tonight. Really enjoyed it. Side chat out there was rocking. The Bible verse is always welcome. Always welcome. Sometimes we just need it. We need to hear it. But with that being said, I'm going to go over there to Mr. Walter Viejo.
Yeah. Well, I got a few things coming up. We'll have a video up on Monday, another Moldy Monday. And I was going to go to the range and shoot again Monday. I want to go back and shoot some more out of that new 10 millimeter, but now it's looking like rain here for Monday. We'll see the last minute forecast. But tomorrow, I'm going to go out to my old local club here. The indoor pistol range has reopened up, but it's all lead free. And you got to use their ammo, and it's real expensive. But I told myself when they got rocking and rolling again, I was going to go out there and try. And I already know the 22 ammo that they've got is probably not going to cycle my Ruger Marks, the Mark II and Mark IV I got, but it might cycle the Browning. So I'll take that in my single 6 out and try some of their 22 and maybe one box of 9 millimeter. But the 22 stuff is $10 around, and it won't cycle a lot of the semi-auto firearms that guys have tried already. They say it cycles the 10-22. But anyway, I'm going to go try that stuff out just to go do it. Might be the last time I go out there. I don't know. But I'm going to do that. And so I got some more loading to do this weekend, and we'll be back, of course, next week with more Moldy Monday and more Free the Few. We had a couple of those videos out this week. So I appreciate the invitation as always to be here and interact with all the guys over here and down there, and all of you folks out there in the side chat. Always a whole lot of fun for me. It's something I look forward to every week, is to get in here and sit down and enjoy an evening, swapping lies and tales and truths and so forth with everybody. It's a good time. So thanks so much for allowing me to participate in all that.
Well, thanks for being here, Walter. We kind of count on you showing up, brother. Hold our feet to the fire. Mr. CW.
Yeah, I have another mold on the way in. I got a mold video that should be dropping tomorrow, and I'm gonna get to the range for sure. Hopefully tomorrow, but for sure, the next few days. So we'll have that coming up, and I watched Don's video as well as Mark did. So maybe I'll haul that big bag over and make a half-hour video showing you all everything that's in there, because there's a lot of stuff in there. And that's about it. I'll have something coming up for sure. We've been fishing, blackfish season here, and I'm filling the freezer. We had a good day yesterday. Actually wore me right out. I was tuckered out, dead tired, and we got some good fish in the freezer. So that's been occupying my time as well. Nothing really to video there. It's kind of hard. You can't touch things you want to keep nice when you got fishy, crabby fingers. So I don't take many pictures or do any videos. But that's about it. Stay tuned. There'll be stuff coming on. Glad to hear that Roger came out of his surgery good. We'll be talking to him next couple days. Always good to talk to all you guys and see everyone in the side chat. I tried to be on there a little bit on the phone tonight, so it worked out a little bit. I think I responded to a couple of questions and things on there. And I hope Jamie gets better with his cold. And everybody remember Tony and his wife over there. They're still fighting the good fight with their health issues. So keep them in your prayers as well. Jamie?
Thanks for being here, brother. I got several videos I want to do, but I'm kind of on hold until I get feeling a little bit better. I don't think y'all want to hear this voice in a video right now. Although you've been listening to it for an hour or so tonight. So thank everybody for being here tonight. We appreciate you more than you'll ever know. I got some 308 videos I want to do. Get over there and support Gizzard Gary if you can, if you're gonna be up that long. And I guess, what can I say? We got to clear the way for get him up here, and we'll see y'all next time. We hope the Lord blesses y'all real good, and if He's willing, we'll see you next Friday night at 8:00.
God bless everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for playing along.
Good night, all.
But food impacts our world. On the low carbon diet.
Here we go.
What was that? All right. Well, that went okay. Jamie, you sounded better at the end than you did at the